BLSP stock update. So currently, I think what most of us are now pursuing is transferring various or some of our holdings to Blue Sphere's transfer agent. The transfer agent is Clear Trust in this case, and that's what we are all pursuing right now. And although obviously we all thank Ray of 808 on Stock Tweets for leading this charge, and I know that's also his handle on Reddit. So we all thank him very much. So a transfer agent, as we all may have found out, is an agent or an entity that keeps records of who owns publicly traded companies. Or rather, I mean, it's an entity that keeps records of who owns publicly traded companies, stocks, and bonds. They also ensure investors receive dividends timely. So what it means is that they are working hand in hand with your broker, because you can you definitely have noticed that from time to time you receive notices, dividends, and all that stuff from, yes, it's probably comes from them, and then they hand it over to your broker. So this move now, by trying to move some of your holdings to the transfer agent, is not going to be that unusual, because they do interact. They transfer, the various transfer agents of the various stocks you hold, they do interact, and for sure they have to, because the transfer agents ensures that the brokers deliver a very good services. So you can imagine that if they weren't really there, or it might be difficult to get some of these things in place, get some of the notifications, some of the announcements, some of the dividends, whatever it is that you need to know. It is probably to a great extent thanks to these transfer agents that you get to get all these things in place, amongst other things. So moving on, the issue is that and what we all have to understand is that the fact that Blue Sphere is dark, it has gone dark, and the company followed legal provisions to do that. So we have to understand that. So what Blue Sphere is doing is not illegal or wrong. The law has that in place, and it took advantage of that. And the fact that unfortunately, or fortunately for them, unfortunately for us, unfortunately for them, nearly all of us are we are all counted as one shareholders of record. So they quickly noticed that, and they must have done their do their own research. They have definitely working with experts. Since they have gone public, for sure they would have been working with experts, and they would have also advised them that this is how to do it. So, and I believe they did this for genuine reasons. It's a lot of work. It's they're pretty small company, they are, and they have to go about pursuing their business. And if they had if they had I mean, you can imagine that if they've had to gone about doing things the way normally they may have been doing it. They were doing everything, disclosing everything. If they were, it costs money to do all those things. So yes, I sympathize with them in that regard. That they need to concentrate on the business of the main business in itself, and So, but the important thing I want to point out here now is that the fact that they went dark is not illegal. It is definitely what is and it's definitely legal. They took advantage of that. So let's understand that. And the other point is that all along brokers were trading their stocks. So the issue is, did the brokers understand that Blue Sphere was dark because of genuine reasons, not just because they are delinquent? So that the issue is that, did they understand that? And maybe they did, and that's why the stock continued to trade for some time. Because I know this is not the first time stocks have been delisted, for whatever reason and all that stuff, for even not filing any disclosures. This is not the first time. It's been going on for some time now. So I guess the amongst other things, Blue Sphere for sure. What is absolutely certain is that Blue Sphere now fell. Unfortunately, unfortunately for them, their position meant that brokers had to clamp down on it. The platform, the OTC markets, the medium OTC markets had to also do so because they haven't filed their disclosure. They probably have not really taken into cognizance the fact that what they have done is completely legal. So at the same time, you can see where Blue Sphere may challenge them in that regard, because may challenge the platforms in that regard if they are concerned, if they care about being traded or not. Unless there is a contravening law, or rather a superseding law that the SEC and the OTC markets are relying on to ensure, to bring about this restriction we're looking at right now. If there isn't any other law that supersedes the one that Blue Sphere relied on to go dark, then maybe Blue Sphere can equally challenge them in that regard, because what it's doing is properly legal. So the reason why I'm also pointing out this issue of legality is that if it's keen, I guess, they can always challenge them if they want to, unless I'm going around the point right now, unless the platform, that's the medium OTC market, and the SEC, the regulator, are relying on a different law altogether. But indeed, also Blue Sphere is relying on a law to go dark. So the issue of coming out by having up to 300 shareholders of record is a totally different thing, because we have not gotten there yet. Or even if we have gotten there, maybe they have not, they're not aware. But in any case, let's assume we have not gotten there yet. So they are perfectly playing the game, playing the rules legally. They're following the rules. So that's the reason why I keep bringing this up, is that at some point, Blue Sphere was trading, and suddenly they had to clamp down on it. So I've also argued before, or rather, I wouldn't say I argued. I pointed out that maybe, even if Blue Sphere doesn't do anything at the end of the period of that September 28, they may still be reinstated to trade on the expert markets. They may still be go ahead and let it trade on that part of the OTC platform. So, but well, we're going about this. We're now pursuing the 300 or more shareholders of record. That's what we're pursuing right now. So if we succeed, then they have to legally go about disclosing their financials. At the same time as well, I also have to point out that it is never really straightforward as such. Never really straightforward, because sometimes we see what the law says, what the rule says, what the regulation says, but when you challenge that and you get to court, for instance, you find out that the case laws in that regard, it has taken some other dimensions. The fact that those provisions are in place, the judge could interpret it in a certain way, and conclude that yes, that happened and all that stuff. Then in the end, Blue Sphere may have still win, or may still win the argument, or that it has to remain dark. So one thing is the rules are there, but also when they are being interpreted, it may not be as straightforward as you say. So that's also one thing we have to bear in mind. And I'm having this feeling that they will stick to their guns and may try to resist anything that is going to cost them money, especially filing disclosures, because those are not exactly spending money in that regard is not exactly there are costs that can, if you can avoid them, by all means open your hands and take them. So that's one thing we have to bear in mind. But let's see when we get to that bridge, how we're going to cross it. But I'm still having this feeling that brokers know, especially Charles Schwab, they knew right from time, and indeed the platforms that BlueSphere did indeed have had this. It's following the rules. It's not doing anything illegal. It's clearly following the rules. So, and indeed, following that rule, that provision of the law does not mean it is permanently barred from disclosing its financials. It is just a suspension. So let's see how things pan out. So looking at the stock now, you can see it closed at $0.001, and at some point during the session of the 5th of August, it's reached up to 0.0014. So in the last video, we pointed out that there's a good chance it could double, but that has not happened. What is certain is that because a lot of the reason why I say that, amongst other things, because a lot of most people are not really selling, and right now I think we're seeing more and more people buying, because the stock is just gradually inching up. It is not retracing at all, so there's a good chance those who can trade from the various jurisdictions in Canada, Italy, and all that stuff. I know the majority of the traders who are keen on BlueSphere are mostly in the US, so they can't really trade. But those in the other jurisdictions, they have the opportunity, and we don't exactly know what their number is, and who says that they can't do anything in this regard. But what is certain is that the fact that most of the majority of the transactions going on into BlueSphere of late are mostly buys. I believe they're mostly buys. It's gradually it's ensuring that it hasn't bottomed out completely. It hasn't bottomed out. I mean, this is it's remarkably, it's just an evidence that or rather a validation that we are not selling, that we are all in it and holding on strong. So you can even see the momentum is not even collapsing. It's just right above the oversold territory. This is, you can't, this is the sort of indications you will see with a stock that is actively trading where you can buy, and where there are no restrictions. Just a bearish stock that has no restrictions. But this is a stock that is hampered or restricted on one arm, but it hasn't collapsed completely. Even the momentum, I think, is even looking up. It's remarkable. So RSI is what is the RSI saying? RSI is saying it's at 41.1. Can you imagine? We should be looking at, normally you would expect figures around 30 or even below that, but we have it at 41.1. Okay, so the readout here is saying it appears to be consolidating within a longer term uptrend. Obviously, a lot of market participants don't want to hear that uptrend anymore. They don't want to hear it anymore. But unfortunately, it's still looking bullish, because it's a backward. It's a lagging indicator, so it's still tracking what happened in the past, and it was bullish in the past. At some point, it's I think it's 52-week highs 0.085. I think $0.085. I'm sure. I might be wrong about that, but at some point he was trading at that. So The average directional index is below 20, indicating that shares absolutely have been moving, trading sideways. The 200-day moving average still sloping bullishly upwards. Indeed, it is lagging the S&P 500. You see, momentum is improving. The 14-period slope stochastic oscillator is rising as investors begin to purchase shares. So the unbalanced volume indicator is bearish. The slope of the indicator is negative and suggests that buyers are presently more active than sellers. So indeed, the volume hasn't been reflected, hasn't been affected as such, but momentum is definitely has recorded and picked up the fact that some people can still buy for sure. It's it just tells us, it's just about, all of these are just validations of what we know. Some people can buy, some people can't buy. Since the majority of us can buy, and people are selling. Indeed, people are selling, and those who can buy are also not buying a lot, and those who are also selling are also really not selling a lot. So all in all, the volume is quite poor. So but based on the momentum, for sure people are buying. So that's the whole picture. People are not really selling, but some are buying. The volume is very low. Okay, fingers crossed. I still have this feeling that maybe Blue Sphere was just restricted to in just being fair. In fairness, it was restricted in fairness, I believe, because there's nothing it has done wrong. It has just not disclosed anything, and it's following the rules, it's following the law. You shouldn't really do that. Maybe Blue Sphere should actually challenge the platforms and the SEC to, for clamping down on them for restricting their shares. I might be wrong, but I'm having this feeling. I've been saying it that even if we don't succeed in getting this 300 shareholders on record, there's a good chance that the platforms, the OTC markets, may either transfer it to the expert market. But I don't know whether that is what they themselves can just easily do, or what Blue Sphere themselves, the company, has to go ahead and pursue and to do so. I think it's probably the latter. The company has to push for that before it's done. But I think based on what I'm looking at it, the companies strictly follow the rules, and it should have challenged then the platform, especially for restricting their the transaction on their shares. Maybe they are currently not keen. That is why, amongst other things, why we really have to probably pursue this 300 shareholders of record, because maybe they're really not keen. So yeah, that's the way we have to go about it. In any case, thank you very much for watching this video. If anything comes out, we'll try our best to update you, but there's hardly anything. But never say never, never ever say never, never say never. Things can always spring up. Okay, thank you again.